Nerds International proudly presents.
We want to take you on a quest for knowledge. One that will take us from ancient medieval fantasy across the far reaches of space to the distant future. To many savage worlds.
Welcome to episode 67 of the Wild Eye Podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to Pinnacle Entertainment's Savage Worlds, aimed at beginners and veterans alike. Did you get my Christmas present? The jar of mayonnaise?
You know what? It hasn't arrived, sadly. But I will look forward to that. That's going straight in the bin.
What about the Marmite, Gary? Did you get the Marmite?
No, I got you a jar of mayonnaise and I got Harrison some rubber gloves.
But I sent you a jar of Marmite. Did it not arrive yet?
No, actually it hasn't, but I haven't checked the mail. That stuff lasts for a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm sure it doesn't go off. I mean, the thing is, I reckon you're going to hate it anyway, so... But I want to have a video of you eating it, like a big spoonful of it or something like that.
I tried it on a piece of toast with butter, like people were saying, and it was just like just a little dab spread out over almost a whole toast, and the flavor was so overwhelming. I just couldn't wash it out. It was like
Yeah,
then I grabbed the jar and I threw it in the bin. I wanted to do one of those videos of like how to properly eat Marmite, and then just grab the jar and throw it in the garbage. But
yeah, it's not for everyone. And the thing is, it's also like it can be an acquired taste as well. So it's really, really hard to actually like. I never liked it when I first ate it, but I was like, there must be something about this. And I ate it 5 more times, and now I like it. But it's yeah. So you know what some people do as well is they like get like a tablespoon of it, dissolve it in hot water, and drink it as a lovely drink. But it just tastes like salt. It's like really, it's like salt, yeast, fermented yeast. So if you want to eat that, Gary, you've got a treat. They're coming for you in the mail.
Yeah, if you had to describe it in one word, how would you describe Marmite as a flavor?
not one word. It's gonna be 2. It's like stale beer.
Broken homeless guy's butthole.
Well, I love it,
Wow,
and it's
right.
probably because of that.
Yeah, well, thank you though. I got to experience it. But going back to Savage Worlds here, because we are a Savage Worlds podcast. Let's start with some feedback from the show and what we've been up to.
Actually,
while we were on.
Eric, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but before you do,
Yeah.
I've got a little Christmas gift for you, because I have got something amazing for you guys. Because this show, right, obviously, one of the things that's missing as a Savage Worlds podcast is celebrity endorsement, right? And I don't know if you know this, but one of my favourite things to do when I'm not doing this podcast is go out and I like to hunt autographs, right? And you're not going to believe this celebrity endorsement that I got, right? But this is absolutely amazing. But I was out hunting autographs at the weekend, and I got 3 celebrities, not 1, but 3 celebrities to endorse this show. And you are not going to believe who I got to endorse this show. And I've got some clips, some audio clips for you. And this is amazing. You're going to love this, guys. Say it.
Hello, I'm Katy Perry, and I endorse the Wild Eye Podcast. It's awesome.
That sounded like Owen Lean.
No, that was Katy Perry. Oh my! I couldn't believe it. She doesn't look how she looks on the TV, but my God, it was amazing meeting her, man. It was just something else. The charisma on that woman. Anyway, play number 2.
Hello, I'm Her Royal Highness Queen Elizabeth II, and I endorse the Wild Eye Podcast. One is very amused.
The presence of the Queen when she walks into the room. She just lights up the room. I mean, she's for such an old woman. She's just such a powerful woman. Play the 3rd one, please.
I'm ex-President Barack Obama, and I endorse the Wild Eye Podcast. Yo.
All three of them in the same day? No, it's hard to believe.
Well, it was in the same day. It was the same weekend. But yeah, I'm good at what I do, man. I saw that they were in London on Twitter, and I went and met them. It's really good. It's really good. I mean, they look very different to their TV counterparts. You know, well, how they look on TV. I mean, it's just wow. Can you believe I got that?
Where did you meet Barack Obama? Like, what place was he? Where was he at? Was he like at
Five Guys?
He was having a burger, was he?
Yeah. He's got much lighter skin than you think on TV. Weird.
What Queen? Where was she at?
Five Guys as well, actually. Funnily enough.
All of them. They were like having a burger day.
Well, actually, Katy Perry wasn't in Five Guys. She was just outside Five Guys, actually. But the point is that I met them all. It was amazing. What a day! I mean, 2 days. Actually, thinking about it, it was actually within the same hour.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing. I'm blown away.
Me too, man.
That's some serious endorsements going on there.
Thank you, Owen.
It's not Owen.
Why do they all sound like Owen?
They don't. They're saying very distinct. Right, let's just get on with the show. Come on, man.
So yeah, we were recently we were on the Digital Dungeon Master podcast to talk about SWAT and what we think about it, and just hang out with a great guy, really. So we'll have the link in the show notes if you want to watch us, because you can actually see what we look like on there, which may not be a good thing, but we'll leave that up to you.
And next up, we got some delicious Facebook comments, right, on the last episode. This guy called Jeffrey Rees comes in, right? He's a great guy. He says some great insights on the chase rules. The chase rules are for more involved encounters. I plan to do this, come up with a scenario, deal out the cards in the prep phase, perhaps adjust the cards for certain circumstance. Then write up the line of cards grid and use that at the table. This is written so badly. Doing that ahead of time lets you think of other circumstances. For example, if you have space battle, you might have a cluster of clubs. Those could be asteroids. So that bad news is you are in asteroids, and you could get a complication. The good news might be it grants cover for those shooting into it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I like that. I mean, this kind of goes with what we were talking about of preparing your encounters and already having certain obstacles instead of the generic ones that they give you in the book. So, which gave me an idea, actually, because, using those chase cards. So let's say, because I've seen it happen to Gary, and it's pretty sad when Gary doesn't have a battle map for an encounter, and then he's begging everybody to help him find the map that he needs. If you've ever seen 6'4", 400-pound guy cry like a little girl, that's how it happens. Because I like Gary, and I don't like seeing him like that. I figured, what if, like, you don't, maybe it's an impromptu encounter, or you haven't prepared for it, or you can't find a good battle map for what you're trying to do. So what you do is you grab index cards, right? And Gary's probably got a case full of them, because ICRPG is his favorite game, and turns out you don't need them all that much. So you've got plenty of index cards. So let's say, I don't know, maybe Temple Ruins Battlefield, and then you grab one index card and you can write Overgrown Vines, something like that. And then another one you can write Rubble, another one Shaky Pillars, and then you lay those out as if it was a map. Like the distance between two index cards is just like with the chase. So it's 5 inches, and let's say the battlefield is 20 by 30. So you lay out 4 cards one way, and then 6 cards the other way. And then you put your minis on those cards, and you have different things that can happen with complications. So if you want to go in melee with someone, everybody has to be on the same card, and then you calculate distance by counting the number of cards between each. And then there's features on the battlefield, and if you, let's say the overgrown vine ones, if you get the club on your initiative card, maybe the vines kind of come alive and try to grapple you. Now you have to evade a grapple against the vines. The shaky pillars, while it comes crashing down on you, now you have to make an athletics or agility or whatever you want to get out of the way. And that's about as far as I've gone with this. What do you guys think? Is that something you think you might want to use?
It's literally how they're used in Index Card RPG. You take the images, you place them down, except you don't do them in a row. But the gist would be you could have an image of a single goblin, and you could have an image of a pile of goblins. And maybe the single goblin is a scout, and you're on that card as a player or a group. And then on the other card with the horde of goblins, you've essentially run off after the horde, and you're leaving the single one behind. So you would move your tokens over to the... Anyways, this is not ICRPG podcast, but have you been reading the book? I think you've been reading the book. You stole that idea right from ICRPG.
I did? I don't know. No, actually, I stole it from the chase rules. But
don't lie to me, Eric. Don't lie to me.
Goddamn liar.
No, I just figured that if we were going to use a deck of cards for chase to represent, distance and all that, I just figured it'd be a good idea maybe for some encounters to use cards like that to, that way you don't need a really fancy battle map, but you still have a visual representation of relative distance and all that. Anyway, I'd have to try it out, but if someone wants to try it out listening to this, let us know how it turned out.
No, I think you're onto something there, mister.
Yeah, I mean, it would need developed a bit more, but I think it's a good start. There's value to that for people that can't draw, or because sometimes you have an idea for an encounter and you can't find a map for it. Like I had to ask Gary for one of my games. It was like in a not a theater, but like a concert venue, and try finding a map of that, and ended up being like a antique Greek kind of theater type of thing that was, it wasn't exactly what I needed, but it was the closest thing that we could find. So anyway, a little bit of news.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the news. The news is incoming. Prepare yourself for the news. News! And some announcements about the Nerds International Network and the Wild Die Podcast.
So yeah, if you missed the Kickstarter for the new edition of Savage Worlds, the PDF is now on sale on the Pinnacle site or even Drive-Thru RPG, and also the pre-order is on Pledge Manager, I think they're using, so you can go on there and still get some of the goodies that were on the Kickstarter. Not all of them. I think that big box, I think it's limited, so if you don't get on it right away, they might just run out of them. So go check it out so you can follow along with us, because for this show we're going to do basically the same thing we did last show, which is share our experience of playing it. We've played 2 sessions. All 3 of us played in the Rippers campaign that I'm running. Well, the adventure, The Laughter of Death. And also Gary and I are playing in Matt Stark's Irongate. This is the Last Parsec. And a lot of stuff happened, especially in Irongate. So we're going to go through all of it. I think it helps when there's context to the rules instead of just reading them or telling people that's that's how it is. So the context is gonna help. So yeah, you guys ready to go to the plug?
Hey, it's the podcast log. We were playing Rippers the other day, and we found out that Eric hates us and wants us to die. Because in this game, we are playing people that hunt the beasts of the night, that dislike beasts of the night. Oh, actually, something really funny happened, but we'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, there's been all these disappearances, kids being disappearing around the town, all of this stuff. There's been murders, brutal murders. We tracked it down to the circus, and the circus, apparently are bad, all of this stuff. Anyway, cutting a long story short, we then get jumped by all these clowns, and Eric's like, oh yeah, here's this fight going on. Turns out they're all legendary level or something like this, and he just wants us all dead for some reason. I guess he doesn't want to run this game anymore. You could have just told us, Eric, if you didn't want to run the game anymore instead of trying to kill us. But anyway,
you guys were going to see the gypsies to, try to see if you could find some more information about what was going on, because the latest victim was a gypsy child.
Yeah, that was
so
it.
I decided to have you guys run an interlude, and this is page 130 in the book right now. The page numbers might change with the versions. I think we're at version 2.1 right now. Anyway, so interludes, I drew a card, and then there's 3 options for each of the interludes. One is for downtime, one is for backstory, and one is for trek. So because you were going from point A to point B, I decided to, let's do a trek. And the result was, which one was it? Oh yeah, a difficult obstacle the group negotiated along the way. That was for Spade's result. So I asked who wanted to do it, and Matt goes ahead and he starts, and he just says that there was a cart in the middle of the road. For those not familiar with interludes, I know we've mentioned it several times on the show, but it's basically a little scene where the players take control over the narrative of the story. They might tell you something about their characters, what they've been up to, or in this case, it's basically me asking the players, make up an obstacle and tell me how you dealt with it. So he starts and says that about the cart, and then he goes and he just says, all right, and then somebody else finish it. So Harrison jumps on it, and then Gary says something, and everybody jumped in to make the craziest, weirdest interlude I've never seen, and it was a lot of fun.
I should point out that I was quite sensible for bloody once, and I said that the reason that the cart was down was because there was a salesman by the side of the road that would attack people, and he was a werewolf, and he would basically lure people over by selling them cheese. Actually, this isn't sounding that sensible, but anyway, he would lure people in by saying, "Oh, I've got cheese for sale," and then when people would come over, he would quickly transform and eat them, and then that was his whole gambit. And then we'd encountered this before. We recognised part of the cart. We'd seen this guy travelling around and biting people.
Right, but what was weird about it is that you kept going back and forth with flashbacks and
flash forwards as well.
flash forwards, so it was a bit difficult to follow at times, but it basically meant that you guys, the real obstacle for this encounter on the road was just for you guys to push the cart up the road, which was really simple, stupid, but the meat of the interlude were the flashbacks, so revealing stuff from the past, encounters from the past. That's why I thought it was interesting and crazy.
Yeah, I loved it, because it was like one guy would go, oh yeah, flashback, I remember this. Then we flash forward to the present day, and then we say, oh yeah, remember this? And then somebody else will go, yeah, then I flash back and I remember that I got that wheel of cheese from there. And then we flash back, and then somebody else will be like, oh yeah, and I flash back and I remember this detail. Imagine if that was in a film. It would be so bad. Like, the way it's done, it would be like every 30 seconds doing another flashback. And then it was so funny, man. It was so good. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And the thing with interludes, I mean, by the book, it says the person that does the interlude gets a Benny as a reward. In this case, it's like everybody contributed to it. So I think I gave a Benny to almost everybody, those that really, added something to it. But maybe turn to the listeners and ask, if you were the GM in this case, would you still just give a Benny to everybody, or you stick to the rules and give a Benny just to one person? Because, I mean, it's Benny's. It's not that bad. I guess but yeah, let us know.
But then, then we went on to this combat encounter where we got jumped by clowns into the woods. There was some stuff that happened in between, but answer me this, Eric. Was there anything different about the way the clowns fought? Are there any of the new rules that are that were in play there?
Yes and no. Okay, here's the thing. So this is an adventure that's almost 15 years old. Okay, so the stat blocks even use the old weapon damage, which is like a plus instead of a die type for damage.
Right.
But for these guys, it's basically because they have flowers, right, and they're squirting acid. So they're closing in on you, and that's their ranged attack. So there's 8 of them because it was 2 per player. So there were 4 of you for that game. So there was 8 of them. They close in, and it uses the cone template. And we were using the battle map, so I get like 2 or 3 of you guys each time in that template. And then the ability says that they don't have to roll for it, but you guys have to evade it. It was with no penalties, but it's 2d10 damage if you don't evade that attack, which works basically like the burst power in Deluxe, right? That you just, but the burst power, the guy still has to activate it. But for the clowns, they don't have to use, shooting or anything. It's kind of automatic. You just have to get out of the way. Now, here's the thing. I decided to lower the damage from 2d10 to 2d6, and then just ask for straight up agility to get out of the way. But reading a bit more on how this might work now, in Swade, you go to page 100, and there are the rules for evasion, basically stating that if the attack doesn't say that you can evade it, you don't. So, but when you have to evade something, it's agility -2. So basically, I nerf their powers quite a bit by not doing the -2, and also from lowering the damage type from 2d10 to 2d6, because now the burst power in Adventure Edition is 2d6 damage, but you don't get to evade it. So, I just made a call right there on the spot. But what happened is basically, I had about 6 of them during that round that directed their acid template toward you guys, and Gary's character went down in 2 or 3 shots one round, and you, Harrison, your character had 2 wounds or something like that.
Yeah, I originally had 4, and then I soaked it. I got really goofed up, man.
Yeah, and then because they went first, I drew the initiative, and I had 2 groups of them, and both groups actually had higher cards, so they went first, and that template has quite the range to it. They started at almost 12 inches away from you guys, but I mean, they closed in a little bit and then use a template. You guys were jumping out of the way, evading. I think Matt got real lucky and managed to evade maybe 4 or 5 of them thrown at him. But yeah, Gary went down. You got hurt real bad, and then it was your turn, and then I turned to you guys, and I'm like, what do you guys do? Are you gonna run? And then everybody was like, oh yeah, we're out of there. Just bolted out of there.
Yeah, there's no way we were hanging around. Literally, there was a point. It wasn't like some people stayed, some people left. It was like there was a point where it's just one round. Everyone decided to leave at the same time, and it was like we were just like, "Whoops, yeah, I'm out here." No, yeah, we were dying. It was no way we were staying.
Yeah, it was brutal. They say that this adventure is tough and it's for seasoned characters, which you guys are in this, but it's just the advantage of them starting first and with these ranged attack. I'm not sure how well they would have fared in melee if you guys would have started first or, managed to take a couple of them down first, but with them getting the initiative on this round, and then a bunch of people failing their agility rolls. It was quite brutal. So yeah, that's when we ended.
The burst template actually, or the spell, you used to be able to roll agility to get out of the way of that. Right. And they've taken it right out, which is fantastic, because when you have bennies and stuff like that and you come up against your players, you know that they're going to spend every benny they have trying to avoid whatever damage it is that they're going to take. But I see that even the wording of the spell, it's no longer in there. There is no dodging a burst spell. I do like the damage modifier for an extra 2 points, man. Modifiers on spells and stuff like that, they're so kick-ass now. So you can increase it from 3d6 instead of 2d6, and then 4d6 on a raise, which is pretty sweet. Plus all the other spell modifiers that you could top on top of this. If you literally, if you went through the spell modifier list that was on there, there's like a whole bunch of things that you could probably put on top of there. You could have actually put down like Hinder or Hurry as well for extra power points and made us like slow so we couldn't get out of there. That would have been sweet. Lingering Damage would have been another one you could have tossed on there as well. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I would have had to do it differently because if it was the actual burst power, I would have had to roll for the clowns to actually hit you. In this instance, it was just a special ability. That's the difference, is that it was listed under a monstrous ability instead of a power that they activate. It's like automatic. That's why they didn't roll at all to see if they hit. It was just the onus was on you guys to get out of the way. But yeah, I could have done it different with powers, have them roll, I don't know, spell casting or just shooting, and then added those modifiers. But I was just going on by what was their stat blocks there. So when it's a special ability, it doesn't have to follow how the powers work. You can just make up whatever you want. So
thanks. Well, yeah. Decided to be a total jerk about it.
Actually, like I said, I could have made you guys roll at -2 and be at 2d10 damage instead of 2d6. It's just that I rolled so high on those damage that, couldn't get out of the way. Plus, it was at the end of the session, and you guys had less bennies, so we ended with you guys running away. And next time we play, it's going to be a chase, so we're going to get to try out the chase again.
So tell me about Irongate, guys. I'm not the biggest Last Parsec fan on the planet, but Irongate actually sounds cool, like as a sort of setting within a setting. They've actually done something interesting for once, because when you read Last Parsec, like it's sort of like, it's like a big yawn fest. I mean, it's good if you want to get to sleep. Better than sleeping tablets, I've heard. But the thing is, Irongate actually sounds really interesting, man. And it sounds like you guys are having a real nice time with it. I mean, it's kind of funny I wasn't invited to that one. But anyway, point is that, sounds good. Tell me about it. Tell me how that's been going. I want to hear.
You're not in the group.
I know.
You've made it known that you don't like the Last Parsec, so
yeah, that's true. But this actually sounds fun. I mean, I want to play.
So this was the second session, but because the first one we were still playing with Deluxe. So Gary, maybe a recap of the first session, less than 2 minutes, just so people have an idea of what's going on.
Man, you're really putting the pressure on me first thing this morning. I don't know if I can do a less than 2 minute recap, Eric.
Well, it's that, or are you sing a Christmas song for us?
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Yeah.
I know the words to this song. Okay, so because I've actually pre-read the Irongate deal and know what it's all about, inside the Irongate deal, you play a bunch of people that work for Securicor or whatever it is, one of the corporations, and you are tasked to go down to the planet. Irongate is a prison planet. You're tasked to go down there and find out how people are getting off of the planet because it's supposed to be an inescapable deal. We're not quite playing that, but we're playing something very similar. You start off in the space station. You're prisoners. Everything is like miserable and horrible. Some giant Yeti tried to take our food. We all gave him our food because we didn't want to get into a fight unarmed with the giant Yeti, who are super tough. And then as per the Plot Point 1 campaign, we got into this container that's this drop ship. It's literally like a shipping container. We strapped into the back of that, headed down to the planet. The doors blew open. Things went sideways. Some of the hooks came off. We crashed into the planet, and then a bunch of dudes came up that were trying to sort of capture us so they could sell us into slavery. Now, while this was going on, everybody started running, and I'm playing like this fat old man. I guess that's kind of like me playing myself in real life. But we started hiding behind rocks and stuff like that. And I think I got a pipe off of one of these guys. And then we started bashing some skulls and whatnot. And then that's when this is the reason I was in prison came out, which was I was trying to like sneak little bits of body parts off this guy and eat them. I was pretending to be like a Hannibal Lecter kind of a doctor kind of a guy with this bug dude. Eric, what was your character? You were...
I'm kind of a face type of guy, like a scummy gangster type of guy.
Yeah, so
I ran off. I ran away. I didn't want to fight these guys. I didn't have a weapon. Everybody's stopping to fight them. And I'm like, I don't want to get captured. And then, of course, I got branded a coward.
That typical standard. Every day. So we end up running away, and we actually tuned them all in. We got some pipes and we got some weapons. Bugman, I can't remember, Zorak or whatever his name is, he had some psionic abilities. We ended up taking out these guys that were trying to get us. From there, we ended up hiding. I think that's where we ended it. We hid overnight, and we woke up the next day walking through the wilderness. It's not really a wilderness. It's like a desert kind of a planet, sort of like a rusty, sort of a Mars kind of a deal. And we found these Fratellis, which were a group of... I guess they're like a mob family kind of a thing, but they have they were cannibals. So I was like, sweet, these are my peeps, because I was also a cannibal. So as soon as I found out they were like eating some people, of course I also have like curious. So I walk out and I'm like, hey, what's going on, mama? Kind of a deal. I started talking to her and making friends. Everybody else was hiding and whatnot. And then they got found out and things just went south from there, which is spectacular.
Yeah. So what happened is that the previous night we're discussing what's going on and what we can do through interludes. I revealed that I know some of the people in town. The town is like only about a mile away, but we're trying to hide. So the idea was that in the morning we'd just go to town, but we get out of our cave where we were, our shelter, and we find these people. And like Gary said, his character is curious. The other guy that's playing with us, Daryl, is also curious, and he's kind of the explorer, scout type of character. And I'm playing the face, and I've got cautious. So I stay in the back. I don't see why we need to engage with these people, and especially since they just sawed that guy's arm off. He's chained to the ground, and they're cauterizing his wound with an iron skillet. And of course, Gary goes to talk to them. Daryl's characters sort of try to be sneaky and approach. They haven't seen us yet, but he fails his role. So now he's discovered. Gary's doing well talking to them, but at the same time, the thought process of my character is one cannibal and then a group of cannibals. I don't trust this situation, so I'm staying in the back. But now, I think you did a persuasion. You were like, hey, I'm a doctor. I can help you guys preserve your food longer or stuff like that, whatever, or keep them alive longer so you can eat them, which is kind of really weird. My character didn't want to get into that. But yeah, Daryl failed his stealth roll, so now Mama Fratelli is sending Sloth after us. And she's like, go grab him. So he's approaching my character, and then I tried one of them new fancy tests. I did a athletics versus agility, throwing sand into his face so I could get away. I got him distracted. I didn't want to really wound him to start an all-out battle. And besides, I didn't have a weapon on me. We're still wearing our orange jumpsuit from being prisoners. I've got nothing at that point. I'm hungry. I got one level of fatigue, and yeah, like Gary said, it just went downhill from there. Let's see. I think what really turned the tide of that battle is the new Joker's Wild rule for the GM, because we started defending ourselves, but they ran out of their bennies. So Matt didn't have any bennies for his group. And then in one round, he drew 2 jokers for his bad guys because there were 4 wild cards. So the rules, and these are on page 89. It says that every wild card villain gets 1 Benny for a joker, and he got 2 jokers. So each of them got 2 bennies, and plus a Benny is added to their common pool. And that really changed the tide of battle. What Gary tried next was the Disarm.
Being that the rules and essentially 95% of what's going on inside SWAT A has been changed, we were constantly looking up rules just to make sure that we understood them. So the cool part of it is I was standing next to, if you've ever seen Goonies, the Fratellis were basically Mama and her kids from the Goonies. So I was standing next to Mama, sweet talking her and stuff, and then all of a sudden she, they spot Daryl, and then the attack is on. She's got people attacking my party guys, and I tried to make out like I was there alone. I was just like a lone cannibal wandering the wilderness kind of a thing. I got to sweet talking her. I was showing her a few tips and tricks on how to preserve so they don't get infections and stuff like that. And then things went south, which was fantastic. So the disarm maneuver, you can try to make an opponent drop a weapon or attempt to damage the weapon by making a melee or range attack. So I'm standing right next to her, and then as we're reading the rules, you actually have to do a called shot, which is on page 99. So I had to call shot her in the hand, which is at a -4 because it's a small target. So if the victim's hand is hit that holds a weapon or other object, then you got to check to see if she drops it through the disarm rules. So when you start off, it's called shot to the hand. I successfully made an attack. And then during the disarm maneuver, once I hit her, if the attack hits the weapon, it can shatter the weapon. So you have to look up breaking things. I think if the attack hits the target and they're shaken or wounded from the attack, they got to make a strength roll at -2 or drop whatever was in their hand. So everything worked out successfully for me. I sweet talked her for a little bit, and then I hit her in the hand. I grabbed her gun. I took a step back, and then my world went black. She sicks her boys on me. She gets all of their jokers, so now they're all jokered up. And then the stun thing came in. So now got to look up stunned, which was fantastic. But man, I did a badass like disarm maneuver, which was pretty cool, especially with all those negatives, the -4 to hit her in the hand and stuff like that. I spent all my bennies actually doing that because I really needed to get this shotgun, which was my sort of my downfall. And then from that we went to stunned, which is brilliant.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, while all of this is going on, Daryl's trying to fight Sloth, but Sloth already threw a net on me. I'm entangled. It was, athletics versus my agility. I missed that. So now I'm entangled, meaning that I can't move. And what else is it? It's page 101. Entangled. No, that's for the grappling rules. Entangle is what, 98? All right, so entangle, the victim can't move and is distracted. So technically I could have attacked as well, but I didn't have much to fight with. And then next round he just grabs me and throws me over the cliff there. I end up rolling down a cliff, get another level of fatigue. So I'm at -2 for everything. I think for like 2 or 3 rounds, I'm trying to get out of the net and I can't. I'm just stuck in there and everybody's laughing at me and it was really embarrassing. But yeah, the stun. So they add stun guns. And this was, I think, the second thing there that really turned the encounter around where Gary got shot with this. And let's see, the rules, the stun rules are on page 106. And every time you're hit by that, you have to make a vigor roll. And if you fail the vigor roll, then while you fall prone or to their knees, then you can't move or take any actions. So it's worse than shaken. You don't count toward the gang up bonus, which really didn't apply in this situation. And also, here's a big killer there. Attacks against a stunned character get the drop. So +4 to hit, +4 to damage. At this point, Gary's on the ground. He's just doing the bacon dance, and then they start shooting at him with the shotgun because he dropped it. She grabbed it back, and they shot him. And I think in one round, Gary went from, having fun, thinking he's doing well, to being dead because he was out of bennies, and he also failed his incapacitated roll there. So that was it for Gary.
Stun is freaking brutal, man. It is insanely brutal. Have you ever watched professional boxers when one of them gets like smashed in the face and they do this weird thing called the chicken legs where their legs are like sort of not really they're not in control of their legs.
Yeah.
They're just like, that's what I imagined that I was doing. I was doing like the full on chicken legs. I hit the ground, I rolled around a little bit. I did some, kind of weird spastic maneuvers, and then it was shotgun blast to the head. Now, in the new rules, the one thing that's not written in here either is gritty damage. Gritty damage is now you can Benny for extra damage. So good old Matster there, he decided that the 28 hit points wasn't going to be enough, and he wanted to, he got 15 the first time, and that wasn't quite enough for him. So he spent one of the many bennies that he got back in his last turn to increase the damage. And I think he shot me. He ended up shooting me for like 28 points plus and that included the drop, which is now +4. And it was man down. It was head splayed on the ground. He literally like axe chopped me right in the watermelon with his stupid ass gun. And that was it. I went from being super cool until to dead.
Yeah, that started the quote. The quote of the session, I think, was when Gary said, "Last round I was cool. This round I am dead."
Nice.
Yeah. And then it kept getting worse because I finally got out of the net, and there's like a little set of stairs, so I'm trying to get back up to flee. I want to run away, but as I'm going up the steps, they shoot me with the stun gun, and I also failed my vigor roll. So I end up on the ground, and then they shoot me for 3 more wounds. I can't soak it. And then I recover from the stun, but that means I'm still shaken, and I run away, and they got me again. They stunned me again, or something like that, and now I'm gonna be the meal for those cannibals. Daryl's character managed to run away, but if he stayed, I think that would have been it for him. A thing too that we had to look at is multi-action and 2 weapons and 2-fisted, because his character is one of those 4-arm aliens, so he can actually perform one more action attack while it removes one of the penalties from the multi-action. But that's a big change to the rules now, because in Adventure Edition, multi-actions are limited to 3 actions, but you can perform the same action more than once. So before, if you wanted to attack twice without the frenzy edge, you needed a weapon in each hand, because attacking with one weapon in one hand counts as the same action. So before you couldn't use the same arm. You had to use a second arm, and in this case, it'd be your offhand as well, and then another multi-action penalty on top of that. So the penalty was quite high. But now you might be wondering what's the advantage of using 2 weapons, because you could actually just use the same weapon and attack 3 times with the same hand. But the benefit is on page 108 of using 2 weapons. It's called 2 weapons. If it's fighting, it says a character armed with 2 melee weapons adds +1 to his fighting rolls if his foe has a single weapon and no shield, is an unarmed defender, or an animal. So there's the benefit right there. But you still get the multi-action penalties and the offhand penalties, unless you take ambidextrous, which negates the offhand penalty, or you take the 2-weapon, the 2-fisted edge, which removes the penalty for multi-action if you're using melee weapons. And then there's 2-gun kid, that's if you're using ranged weapons. The benefit for shooting, for having a gun in each hand, all it is really is that you have more ammo. So you have more, you have two guns, so you're going to run out of ammo less often. So that was something that we had to, like Gary said, to read in the middle of the encounter to figure out how that worked. And then it got even more complicated, like I said, because Daryl's character's got 4 arms, so he can even do all 3 actions. If you add the 2-fisted on top of that and ambidextrous, he can basically attack 3 times with no penalties per round, which is pretty good.
I like the old rules before with the 4-armed, because before in the deluxe rules, in the science, whatever it is, the science compendium, or the Last Parsec one where the critters come from, it says that he can take an extra action. So he could literally like shoot twice, one with each hand, and each one is just an action. But now it's changed that if you have 4 arms, you no longer get an extra action, but you automatically reduce your multi-action penalty by 2. Pretty sure that's how it works, right? So instead of getting, if you shoot twice, instead of it being -2, you could shoot twice and it would be 0. And then, as you continue, the worst penalty is going to be -2 for shooting 3 times instead of -4. So that's one other change that we had found out too. So if you have 4 arms, you no longer get an extra action. Like, everything is just changing. But yeah.
Yeah, it was brutal, and I think there's a lesson to be learned from this, because, my impression initially was that when I first started reading this book, seeing how many more skill points you ended up starting with, because we're just novice in this game. We had one advance and that's it. All the new, all the skill points you get. Some edges got a big boost. Some of them got nerfed, and all the new uses for bennies. You might feel like characters have even more of an advantage. They're even more competent than they were in Deluxe. And what this encounter told me is that, yes, that's true, but it's also more brutal. If you add the Joker's Wild for the GM, that can totally turn the tide of a battle. And also, the stun condition that can also really mess you up. So, it feels like this is, you're more competent. The player characters are, but the game is just as brutal, if not more brutal than it used to be. I don't know if you feel that way, Gary, too.
Yeah, no, I do. Absolutely. The one thing that we were talking about too is the drop. The drop is mentioned way more times in Suede than it is in Deluxe. Like, it's almost every other page. It's like, don't forget to use the drop. Don't forget to use the drop. If you feel like it, throw the drop on them. If they're not paying attention, hit them with the drop. It's like, so, and that's +4/+4, which can be just, that can be devastating on top of a regular roll. And when you get stunned and you're laying on the ground doing the bacon, the drop is brutal.
Yeah, and then they're in midway, you've got Vulnerable that gives +2 to people against you. It's not +2 damage, it's just a hit, but that +2 is huge also. And Vulnerable happens quite often, and especially if you use tests but even some edges in situations will give you Vulnerable. So the other thing too, and Matt was saying that this encounter was kind of an epiphany for him as a Savage Worlds GM, is, well, he said that usually his encounters were really too easy. Player characters would run over his bad guys. And for this encounter, he decided to use 4 wild cards. There were no extras in there. There's only 3 of us against 4 wild cards. And he didn't pull any punches. Like Gary said, at one point, he decided to re-roll the damage because he felt it wasn't high enough. He had us down and he knew it, and he just went all out. And I think that's a lesson for GMs that always complain that encounters are too easy, is that don't build your encounter with the idea of making it fair. Just make an encounter that makes sense for what you're doing. In this case, he had 4 cannibals in the desert, getting some food, and they all have names. They're all important, and he wanted them to be wild cards. And that's the encounter that we had to deal with. Now, he never forced combat onto us. They never attacked us until they started feeling threatened a little bit. But there was a way out. Gary was talking to Mama Fratelli. We could have just went all the way around and avoided them because they never saw us until Gary decided to come up to them. But I think we all played our characters where, Gary was curious and he's a cannibal and he sees other cannibals. It's part of your tribe. And then Daryl was also curious and he was trying to sneak. And my character is cautious, staying in the back. And then we just got caught in the middle of a situation that made a lot of sense of how everything went down. And it didn't turn out good for us at all, but it made for one hell of a memorable encounter that we'll probably remember forever, basically. And I think if, as a GM, you try to make a fair encounter that the players will survive, you're just setting yourself up for a really bland encounter that nobody will remember. yeah, they'll make it past the encounter, but nobody's going to talk about it years later. We talked about this encounter for days, chatting with each other, trying to break it down, where it went wrong, what really happened, what we could have done. And this is why you play RPGs, I think.
There is no combat rating in Savage Worlds. This is not Dungeons and Dragons, I can tell you that. Like if you're new to, if you've just picked up Savage Worlds because the Adventure Edition just got kickstarted, and this is your first soiree into actually playing Savage Worlds, you got to remember, or something to know, is that you have acing dice. And with acing dice, anything can happen. You can be a farmer in a field, and you can take out the veteran level paladin with a nice pitchfork to the throat. As long as your dice ace and stuff like that, it's in 5th edition there's combat ratings. Monsters all have CR ratings, and that is not a thing in this one. And the only way we actually figured out that they were wild cards is when he's rolling his skills inside of Fantasy Grounds, you can see the dice shadow. And Eric noticed that every time he rolled, he was rolling 2 dice. And he's like, "Oh my God, there's like 4 wild cards." But yeah, we did literally talk about it for a week because it was actually so funny. Like, I went from disarming this broad, had the shotgun, had them all under control, and then bam, stunned, dead.
Yeah, they get the jokers and the momentum shifts. And, I see a lot of new people to Savage Worlds. When they find out that this kind of thing can happen in Savage Worlds, they question if it's a bug of the game. And it's not. It's a feature. It's what the game is built around. It's built around the idea of danger. That when you enter combat in Savage Worlds, if you're not scared for your life, there's some wrong going on here, because it's not like, okay, you're gonna lose 6 hit points and you still got 50 and you'll be all right, and then the players see their resources going down and getting closer to dying. You're gonna be up one round, and the next one you could be gone. You could blow through all your bennies trying to soak the wounds, and then re-roll your vigor roll to stay alive. And that's what happened to Gary, and that's what happened to me. I was trying to run away with -2 with fatigue and -3 in wounds. I was like limping away as 4 of them are chasing me, and there's just no way. I got no weapons. I can't do anything, and I put myself in this situation by staying around and, instead of avoiding it. But we were trying to play it as a team, so I went with what the others were doing. But I knew we were getting in trouble as soon as I saw these 4 guys trying to eat people in the desert. But yeah, like I said, it's not a bug of the system. It's built to be like that. It's built that you could be up one round and the next you're dead. Like Gary said, last round I was cool. This round I am dead. This is, in a nutshell, this is Savage Worlds to me.
Sounds like a really fun few sessions, guys. Really like to be a part of that.
Plus, you missed out. It's too bad you threw so much shade at the Last Parsec.
Yeah, it is crap though. I mean, you've read the core rulebook though. It is a big steaming pile of turds, but it looks like Irongate really actually injects a lot of personality into it. And also, it sounds like Matt is really knocking out the park, man.
Oh, he did, for sure. He's got the advantage, too, of Irongate being a prison planet. So everybody that's there is, they're all like thieves and murderers and stuff like that. They wouldn't think twice about ending somebody's life. So you really never know what you're getting into when you roll up upon a group of people. They could be... Maybe they were put on this planet because they got framed or something like that. Maybe they're not bad people, but I mean, generally they're on a prison planet with no escape for life because they did something bad. So
when I heard about that Irongate thing, I genuinely thought actually that does sound good. I wish that was its own thing, But I would play that. So send me an invite, please, Matt. Please. please.
Sounded like begging.
I am begging. I I don't care. I ain't got no shame. Alright.
My name's Harrison Hunt, and I do what I like. Right now, I ride a mother bike through the ball where I ain't supposed to do that. I'm from the podcast Tabletop Twats, and this is the wrap up, and it's gonna be sick. I'm right now, you can suck my dick, cause I don't give a what you think about my so suck my mother big yeah. What I'm trying to say is it's the mother wrap up, just like Mummy used to make.
So yeah, this is the extent of our experience with Adventure Edition. I'd like to get some letters from you listeners. Your experience with Adventure Edition. Has it been similar to ours? Has it been easier? What's the transition like for you guys? But keep in mind, if you want us to read your letter on the show, keep it short, because Harrison doesn't like reading long letters. So
I'm impatient. I don't even like doing this podcast because it's too long. I really wish that we could keep this podcast to 5 minutes. I don't think anyone would listen to it, but that would suit me down to the ground. I mean, I like everything short, okay? Making love, reading emails, all of it, under 30 seconds. Send in your short emails about how you're finding Suede. What we'll do is we'll try to do one thing you like, maybe one thing you don't like, or whatever, something like that. And then we'll read them out, and we'll see what the general consensus is at the moment. Because I'd like to know what you guys think as well, because at the moment, I'm not really finding much I don't like about it. The stun gun thing's a bit weird, but like other than that, yeah, I'm just really liking all the improvements. It seems like they've learnt a lot, and really listened. So yeah, for once, Pinnacle the good guys.
Oh, you're so positive today. Must be Christmas season, maybe.
Yeah, you know what? I'm changing to a new me. You know what? Actually, let's do a new item. Because you said to me all the time, I don't like any movies, so I'm going to talk about a movie that I like. Movies that I like. Ladies and gentlemen, I watched
non-Korean movies that you like.
Oh, non-Korean. Oh, never mind then. No, actually, the other day I watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. That is a funny movie. And that concludes movies that I like. It's my new item.
Yeah, that's a new segment. The new, movies that Harrison likes.
I just want to kill myself right now. Really, like, seriously. I've been staring at twine for the last 2 minutes, thinking of how I could, like, maybe wind it all up into a string that would be strong enough to hold me.
If you want to contact us, you can email us at thewilddie@gmail.com, or you can go over to Facebook and YouTube, The Wild Die Podcast. We're on Twitter as well. We're on MeWe. We're on all of that stuff. We're on Born Flock. We're on Flizzbaz. We're on all of that stuff. And we're on the Nerds International group on MeWe if you want to contact us. And of course, if you like what we do, God help you, you must be bloody mental. But we're on Patreon, so sling us a buck over there. And of course, it is at this point I would like to thank all the patrons with the following jingle.
Sean, Richard, Uncle J, Raspberry, Chalmers, Alan Bray, Conrad, Erasmus, Neubert, Greg, Bruni, Corey Gershon, Corey Judd, Murder, Hobo Show, Ray, Aristia, Rob Tal Bubbles, Manuel Sams, Matt Stark, Pure Mongrel, Stephen Drengsmore, Xavier, Daryl Cartier, Frank Tefler Jr., Gil, Dashard, Lewin Strad, Jens Schoenheim, John Pearson, Carl Kieser, Mr. Stag, Remy Billa Joe, Digital Dungeon Master, Trevor Hurst, Emmanuel Pabst, yeah. Yeah.
Boop. So we got a new patron in there, right? His name's Emmanuel Pabst, right? The creator of Blue Ribbon. I'm sure he's heard that one before. That's not even funny. That's just immature. Sorry, Emmanuel. Thank you so much, man.
Well, we've got a long history of making fun of people's names on this show, so. But yeah, thank you, Emmanuel, for being part of the family now. You're one of us. You're a buddy. Hope you have fun for Christmas and have nice presents, because we all know Harrison's not going to get anything nice for Christmas. Maybe a lump of coal.
Oh, not again.
This is Eric saying, hold on to your balloons.
And this is Harrison saying, grapple the skies.
This is Gary swinging from the rafters by a ball of twine saying, keep your pants on. Because, man, if you get caught hanging from the rafters with your pants around your ankles, people are going to write things in, like, the local newspapers about how they caught you dead. So, yeah, keep it fun. Thanks, everybody. We're out.
Wild Die Podcast is not affiliated with or endorsed by Pinnacle Entertainment Group or official Pinnacle licensees. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of the respected owners. All music and artwork is used with permission of Pinnacle Entertainment Group. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Wild Die Podcast.